What's going on, my Epictastic Nation? Welcome back to the Epictastic Days channel, and welcome. This is Joshua Drake, Epictastic Joshua, if you're a new member or returning member, and we're going to talk about a little movie that I've been requested to talk about, but also been wanting to talk about on my own for quite some time on now, and that is Sugar and Spice and Everything Nice. This is a teen comedy which came out in 2001, and this was directed by Francis McDougall and written by Mandy Nelson. It stars Marley Shelton, Marley Shelton, Melissa George, James Marsden, Mina Savari, and Rachel Blanchard. When Jack and Diane find themselves in an unexpected adult situation, the A Squad comes to their rescue. In order to help their friend Diane, the A Squad goes where no cheerleader has gone before. Taking on a little after-school project known as Bank Robbery. But the A Squad does things their way with the Sugar and Spice, forever changing their friendship, their future, and the nation's notion of teen spirit. This is a movie that I grew up watching. I remember seeing this when I was younger, and I thought this was a pretty entertaining movie. I was just a little kid, and of course, this was a year after Bring It On, so I didn't see this after Bring It On. I saw this on TV way younger, when I was younger, but I also wanted to go back and rewatch it because it's been so long, and this is a movie I honestly do think this is a bit underrated when it comes to this. So this is not a movie that got the best reviews when it came out, but there is a reason why I want to kind of talk about it. Girls Month, but also women love all year round, just like everything else. But this is a movie I think is actually not as bad as people make it out to be. It's got its flaws, but I do really like it. Starting off with the easiest thing, because this is surrounding women, and that is the relationships of the actors. Marley Shelton is Lisa, Marley Shelton is Diane, Melissa George is Cleo, Mina Savari is Kansas, Sarah Mosh is Lucy, and Rachel Blanchard as Hannah. And I'll say that all of these actresses have a very, very good part to play here. I'll go through them individually, but I would say together they do a very strong job in the performance that is given to them. They each have their own personality that makes them entertaining to watch. So going through it individually, I would say it is, we have Diane, of course, which Diane is the kind-hearted popular cheerleader. This was Marley Shelton back in 2000, and Marley Shelton is still a gorgeous woman to this day, and her character, of course, she and James Marsden, they make a pretty huge mistake, which costs them, but they're also able to deal with a lot of the craziness. So I actually really enjoy what the performance that she brought along with herself, but also with James Marsden. They both did a pretty solid job, and I'll give them both credit here. They're not the best well-written characters, but I will say that Diane and John, or Jack, they all did a very good job in their roles here. Oh, we have, of course, a great character like Bad Girl Kansas Hill, which is, this is Mina Savari, which we don't see as much of her nowadays like we used to. I think there's been some things after American Beauty that came out she recently said, and she does a very strong job as the bad girl. She is an asshole as Kansas Hill, but she does have her moments where she will care for her fellow girl lady friends, and also she will help in the situation that is required to them. So I thought she did a very strong job, and she was entertaining to watch. Melissa George is Cleo Miller. Melissa George is kind of an underrated actress. You don't see a lot of her as much anymore. She's not one of the best actresses out there, but I would say I enjoy seeing her when she popped up in a few movies like this and the Amityville Horror, which was the first thing I saw her in. She's definitely boy crazy, and there is one moment in this movie that definitely does show how boy crazy she is. But I really liked her performance in here, and I thought she did a really good job. Sarah Marsh as Lucy, I thought she was pretty cool having to play the nerdy one, of course, and she did a really strong job in terms of the nerdy one. So I definitely really enjoyed a lot of what she had to come to terms with in playing it. So I thought she was hilarious. She had some of the best jokes. The religious one, yeah, Hannah Wald, she is a pretty religious one, but she does have her moments in here. I really like the Rachel Blanchard here for the character that she has to play, because she has to play this, but I think she really does a very strong job into the performance. I think she really excels at what she is able to do when it comes to it. Of course, the problem with the character is there, but you know what? I was able to go along with it and deal with it. So it's not really much of a bad thing in terms of her performance. Just the character in the writing, it goes a little bit too far there.
I just realized I forgot to talk about in the original recording, Marla Sokoloff. So her as Lisa the Informer, I thought she was also very good in here. She's also really beautiful as well. Her character, of course, she is kind of the one where she is a bit of ones that have the rivalry with Diane, but you know what? I actually really liked her character and her performance.
Like the rest of the cast, you have the Terminator Rogers, Alexander Holden. You got James Marsden, of course. Also, Sarah Marsh is Lucy. She does a pretty good job as the nerd. All the rest of the cast does a very good job, including Sean Young. There are some funny moments here, which is pretty awesome, so I very much liked a lot of humor in here. It was hilarious. There were some moments here where, yes, some of the jokes are not the best. So that's one of the criticisms I will give into the film. Some of the comedy and some of the humor is not strongest. So you do have to take into account what you get here. And yes, this was inspired by a series of robberies, but putting that aside, it makes for an interesting enough film. It's very risky, it's very saucy, but it never forgets to do the one thing that you want to see a movie like this do. Make sure the women are sexy, make sure they're alluring, but also make sure they're entertaining enough to watch. Because considering the fact that they're doing a very heinous, despicable thing, I very much like the fact that the director of the movie and the writer of the movie were on the same page to at least make them likable. And that's the one thing I will give credit to what credit is due. These girls, they're likable. Do you agree with the decision? Hell no. But do you understand where they're coming from? Yes. And there are just some moments where, for the 81 minutes, it goes by very fast. It's hilarious. So it knows exactly what you're going into. And when you get to the actual bank robbery part of this, it's entertaining enough to watch. A lot of the entertaining aspects that you're gonna get into it. Silly at points. It's cute, of course. It's short, it's sweet, and the heart is in the right place when this whole situation does go awry, and it does have its heart in the right place, well. It's definitely no Clueless or Mean Girls. I think those movies are a lot better than this here. There are some moments of humor, of course, that are not the strongest here, but a lot of the jokes in this movie, I laughed. I laughed at a lot of jokes. There were some that were entertaining to watch, and I actually did like some parts in here that were enough to get me through it. The cinematography is well done here. I really like the soundtrack here. It's entertaining for what we get in here. And also I will say The editing, aside from a few moments where I do feel like the movie could have been a little bit more faster paced, I will say the editing gets the job done. And I will say the soundtrack and score are pretty much good, especially the soundtrack. It's a good soundtrack from the 2000s. It takes you back to that era of when we had movies like this. So it did have a little bit of competition because this was a year after Bring It On, which that movie was a better movie than this. But you know what? I think for what we get in this movie, I got pretty much exactly a good reminder of you don't get movies like this anymore. I will say in some of the negatives here, there are some moments of comedy that wasn't really hilarious. Like there's one joke that doesn't really hold up as much anymore, but I didn't care. Because you know what, I can just accept a joke for what it is. And I'm the same one who's not the biggest fan of Blazing Saddles, which I need to rewatch. To see how I would do. There's also some religious humor from the religious girl, which it can be a little too much to handle. That's another criticism I will give. But there are some of it where I was actually kind of laughing my ass off. And for 81 minutes, could this have a little bit more fleshing out? Yes, especially towards the end of the movie, because you know where it's going to go. But you know what? For the movie at hand that I'm watching, I didn't have a problem with that. So overall, this is an entertaining enough watch that I quite enjoyed when I rewatched it. Is it the greatest comedy you'll ever see? No, but is it one of the more underrated movies that I think is better than what it's been given credit for? Absolutely. It has a likable cast, it's competently directed, and it has its heart in the right place. So if you're one of the who has yet to watch Sugar and Spice, I would definitely recommend seeing. But just know that this is a product of its time, and I think you'll enjoy it. Some people just brushed this off when it came out. I think this is criminally underrated. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give this a highly recommended.
Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay Epictastic, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.